my apologies for being late. As you know, I drop off my kids. Chief Quesada texted me and said, "Where are you?" You said that we were going to have a meeting today, and I was driving, and I said if I replied to his text, that's incriminating evidence. So my apologies. And, Amin is still feeling somewhat ill, so if you get a chance, send him a note. Just wishing him well. He just wasn't feeling well enough to come this morning to join us, so so our apologies because we had both invited the chief and his team to come talk to us specifically about an issue that has come before us over the last several months by Joshua and Lou, which is this question of the homeless here in Anaheim, and the homeless. Well, it's a camping ordinance. It's not a homeless ordinance. It's a camping ordinance, is what it's called. Property storage. Property storage ordinance. So a lot of concerns have been brought to us here as a group. So we were asked and petitioned to see if we can get a conversation going with the chief about the implementation of that ordinance, because that's where the concerns are coming from. There's two kinds of concerns: the ordinance itself, and then there's the implementation of the ordinance at the hands of the police, who are then entrusted by the council and the community to implement ordinances passed. But before we do that, just for folks who are new, Los Amigos of Orange County, we've been meeting for 38 years. Doing this, meeting for breakfast, getting together to listen to petitions that come before us in our community for folks who may need some help in their lives. We said there's no problem that 50 smart people in the room cannot come up with some solutions for. We don't promise a solution. We promise trying to help to accomplish those solutions as best as we can with our networks and resources. And then we take community petitions, which is what we're here for today with our chief of police, to figure out what's going on in the community, how do we engage it, how do we best proactively and positively engage it to improve the conditions of our communities? And then lastly, community announcements, as Alfredo Amezcua just mentioned. And we do it with an ethos. Marty Schwenk.
Oh!
We know you have a broken arm. Yay! Now take the S out of the gustas and nos gusta. And you're there. There you go. So first thing we had this morning was Alfredo Amezcua pleading a letter from Los Amigos that he's going to draft so we can send Santa Ana College, yeah? That's a great idea. We should recognize all that they've done. So Alfredo will send us a draft, and then we'll put it in Los Amigos letterhead, put our flavor to a little salsa on it, and then we'll send it out to thank Santa Ana College and Teresa Mercado in particular. For that. So without further ado, because I know there's time constraints, because I believe you have to be in court. Some have to be in court. So I'm going to ask Chief Quesada to come up. As you all know, he was appointed 2 years ago? 2 years ago. 2 years ago, after serving as interim chief of police here. He's the first Latino police chief in the history of Anaheim. Is that right?
That's correct.
That's right. So he has, when we petitioned him about Joshua and Lou's concerns about the implementation of the ordinance as it relates to the homeless, to our homeless brothers and sisters, his response was, rather than do a private meeting, let's do a public conversation. Because that way everyone understands how the police is trying to engage this issue, how they're trying to do it in a humane way, and then for him and the team to listen to how perhaps it's not happening as humanely as we would like it to be. So at the very least, he's always opened himself up to say, tell us what we can do better. And let us tell you what we think we're doing well, and then let's have that conversation. So without further ado, Chief Quesada, welcome again to Los Amigos, and we're anxious to hear what's going on.
Well, good morning. Before we get started here, we actually have some of my staff who are going to be providing the presentation, but for the purpose of this dialogue, I just want to ask a question just to get us going here, to understand and respect each other's how we think. How many of you like coffee versus tea? If you like coffee, raise your hand. If you like tea, raise your hand.
I like both.
All right. Chocolate ice cream versus vanilla ice cream.
Keep your hand up.
Yeah.
Okay. Smoking versus non-smoking. Okay, so those of you non-smoking versus smoking, do you think I could ever convince you otherwise to do the other? To smoke if you don't, or not smoke if you do? Very, very difficult, right? Two different opinions. And that's the way sometimes we operate. There are many, many in our community. We all have different perceptions of how things happen or why things happen. And we have to abide by what the law says or what's on the books. And sometimes we're not going to agree to that. But what I do ask is that you respect the fact that we have to do a job. And we represent everyone in the community. Those who are for it, those who are against it, some of who walk along the middle. I cannot please everyone. It's impossible. I probably can't even please everyone in this room. But I do my best. My department does its best. to try and please everyone, but the reality is we're not going to do it. We will hear sometimes allegations of abuse or things of such that I don't have the right to go into detail to explain it for personnel rules or for the protection of the person making the complaint. So unfortunately, I can't even defend the department sometimes when it comes to those things. I just have to sit here and smile, and we know what happened. So with that, what I want to do is introduce some of my staff. As I mentioned earlier, Deputy Julian Harvey, who's my deputy chief, Captain Jarrett Young, Lieutenant Tim Schmidt, and Sergeant Al Roman. The police department puts a lot of effort into what is essentially a social problem. If you think about it, we have homeless in our community. How is that the police department's responsibility? It's a social problem. But we are the face of government. So we get calls from, my 5-year-old doesn't want to get out of bed, he doesn't want to go to kindergarten, please come and scare him. I kid you not. People, police department, do we get those phone calls?
Chief, that was a private call. You're not supposed to.
That's why he was late. We get those calls all the way, unfortunately, to calls of homeless in the parks. And if you've attended recent council meetings, you're hearing more and more folks who are agitated, and they're not necessarily concerned as we are with the individuals, because the individuals have the right to use a park just like anybody else. It's the activity that we are focusing on, the criminal behavior. I just signed a employee injury report. One of my officers poked his finger with a syringe. What are the consequences to that? We don't know where that syringe has been. Did the individual have any type of illness, any of those type of things? So those are concerns. We had an officer pick up a box of syringes that were left in a park. Could those be because the person's diabetic?
Yeah.
Could they be because they're heroin addicts? Or they're shooting methamphetamine? Or a combination thereof? And if my officers are reaching out, grabbing that stuff, who else is in the park uses the park?
Kids.
My kids use the park. They ride the bikes. They do all that stuff. So we want to take care of the situation, the criminal activity. We're not focusing on whether a person has a place to stay or not.
Why would
It's the
anybody
behavior.
reach
It's the criminal
trash?
activity. So with that, I'm going to bring up Lieutenant Tim Schmidt. This is a lieutenant, a manager of the police department that we have dedicated specifically to work with the homeless in our community. We develop programs, outreach, things of such. But he's going to go into detail as to some of the folks that we deal with. There are many, many who do not want any help. We offer, and we'll go into a little detail, we offer vouchers for hotels. We offer food. We offer many, many things. And there are many who say, get away from me. I want nothing to do with you. And those are folks that we kind of, the ones we encounter on a daily basis. So what is our plan? What are we doing? I'm going to bring up Lieutenant Tim Schmidt. We're also going to pass a book around, a 3-ring binder that talks about our current municipal code and just some photos as well as some of the things we're encountering.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. There's another book just like this. It's on the back table. I'll pass this around too. If you guys want to take a look at it, just share it. This is kind of the idea of what we're talking about. I know we were here to talk about an ordinance, storage of property and camping ordinance in the city, but I want to give you a little historical perspective of what's going on in the city. We have a little over 400 homeless in the city living in the city every day. That doesn't include the numbers on the riverbed that are coming from the city of Orange or the city of Fullerton. So you at least have an idea. Our parks, the number one issue, we are in central Anaheim here. The number one issue for calls for service for the police department is in West Anaheim. Our calls for West Anaheim related to homeless triple what's in Central and in East Anaheim, which are virtually none. West Anaheim is impacted by the highest by triple. There are 11, since January 1, 3 parks. We've had 1,100 police incidences or calls for service. 1,100. Maxwell, Tualareed, and La Palma Park. And those are people calling, residents calling, or police activity related to homeless crime, victims of crime, or services. So, as the chief was saying, this is a social issue that came to the police department. This is something we just have to do the best we can providing nonprofits. So there's a group in the city called CityNet. Has Brad Philhouse been here? Okay. CityNet is an organization that was hired by the city of Anaheim to organize all the nonprofits to provide services. That's the different nonprofits in Orange County that want to help with homeless. So we coordinated that effort through the city to provide outreach. Now, we go to the parks 4 days a week, providing some type of nonprofit outreach, attempting to get people off the streets into transitional housing. In the last year and a half, we've reached 376 people that were living in the park and have them into some type of transitional housing. 376. It's a huge endeavor, and right now we're at the point where we get people who are resistant to the resources. And it's hard to understand, but they'd rather live outside, or they'd rather be very mobile, as I would refer to it. Let me see how I can say this. So it's a constant effort. About 50 to 60% of the people we contact have some type of mental health issue that are currently living on the street. And this is an even bigger number. 30% of our homeless are veterans. 30%. So we are constantly trying to get them the services they need and constantly trying to get the nonprofits to help them out to work. You could talk to somebody who's living on the street 6 days in a row and they will say no. 7th day, they might say, yep, I'm ready for the transition. We will get you into some type of transition, but you've got to succeed at that point. You've got to want it. That's the mental health issue that we're faced every day. Camping ordinance. Okay, the city enacted. The chief said it was a criminal ordinance. It's actually just a civil ordinance that we impose at the direction of city council. If you look at the municipal code, correct, I'm sorry. If you look at the books that are going around, you'll see the photos that we're talking about. And the real concern for the residents who are calling us is the blight. They don't want the blight. We want to keep our parks usable and clean to the best of ability. So the main 3 parks in the city that are impacted with homeless, Tuala Reed, Maxwell Park on the West Anaheim, and La Palma Park. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions. Okay, sorry. Okay, the police department has 3 officers right now assigned to HOT. We call it our HOT team. We have a sergeant and a patrol officer assigned to deal with nothing but calls for service related to homeless. Okay, we have 2 additional officers called our PERT team. That's our site team that runs around with a clinician going to calls for service, dealing with people who have mental illness. Okay, at this point in the year, they've responded to over 400 calls for service, and they have about 250 people that they had to take into hospital care. You'll hear 5150 medical care, they can't take care of themselves. That's the number there. So they're busy every day. And then we have 7 officers who are trained in patrol to do outreach during the day. Okay? They can provide hotel rooms, we call it a voucher, they can provide 24-hour care if you run into somebody. They can get you to the nonprofits and connect you. Now those officers are on duty every day. They get a call for service, you run into somebody who's looking for care to get off the street. That officer has the ability to provide the service right then and there. Okay? So we have the service for nonprofits out there trying to do outreach. And that's the key, because it's a social issue that came to the police department. The enforcement is there when it's needed, but it's really about outreach through nonprofits, partners with the police department and the city of Anaheim to get folks off the street into transitional housing.
I have a question. Yeah, I don't know if you know about this, but a court ruled in LA that cities can't destroy homeless people's property or unlawfully seize it. This was Judge Kim McLean Wardlaw, appointed by Clinton, wrote for the majority, a person does not lose his or her Fourth Amendment protection from unlawful seizures by violating a city ordinance. Were it otherwise, the government could seize and destroy any illegally parked car or unlawfully attended dog. So, and also in the first paragraph of the article, it says, LA and other cities are barred by the U.S. Constitution from randomly seizing and destroying property homeless people temporarily leave unattended on city streets, a federal appeals court decided. So, Patsy, or temporarily left her property unattended a couple times, and both times had all her property taken. She's 59 years old. She had medication, ID taken, blankets, all that kind of stuff. Hampton took it one time and then said, well, he gave Patsy his business card and said, well, have her call me and then I'll get the property back. And we called from my phone and never got it back. And I got video of all this stuff. And why isn't Hampton apologizing and giving back property to a 59-year-old homeless woman who wasn't causing any problem or drinking or getting high or anything like that? She had to go to the doctor.
So what's the question? I'm sorry, I'm not being rude. So what's the question?
Why didn't Officer Hampton give her back her property? A real man, see, you guys have badges and guns. I mean, I see Patsy as tougher than you guys because you guys won't stand up for her. You won't stand up for her. I'm standing up for her, right? She is crying and coming to me and saying, look what these police are doing. And what are you doing about it? You know, and you know, because I've spoken at City Hall many times. And I don't know why you're running for me all the time. Why don't you handle the problem? You know, if this was in my police department, that's what I'd be doing. I'd be saying, what are they doing messing with this 15?
Patsy Davis?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you know she is.
And then there's others too.
The answer to the question is, so in terms of the implementation of the ordinance, you're saying one, the court has found that it's unconstitutional,
Yep.
right? And two, that what happens here in our city when it's being implemented, when you have basically someone who has nowhere to go and has property taken from them, what then happens to that property? You're saying that the police officer didn't need to take it, she was there, it wasn't abandoned. So
Okay, so
what-
when we...
Tell us about that real quick.
Okay, sure.
First, one of the key things you said in what you read, RJ, was that destroy the property. Take it and destroy it.
Or seize it.
We don't destroy it. Everything you said was take it and destroy it.
Well, seizing it is not legal
We
either.
don't destroy it. We take it and we temporarily
That's
hold
seizing.
it, and you can come back and get it. We don't destroy it.
that's unlawful
unless
seizure.
They don't come and get it. Second thing with Patsy, we've been out with Patsy trying to get her help over and over again. And in fact, we actually took her. Patsy's
Grandmother's
one
House of Hope.
Grandma's House of Hope, finally, and tried to get her off the street.
It's $500 a month.
We're not callous and you know, we've tried to help
She
Patsy.
can't afford it. It's $500 a month. It's not free.
It's 20% of general relief if she qualifies. That's what they charge. Grandmother's House of Hope is a nonprofit in the city of Anaheim. They have 65 beds in the city. It's a
They're
nonprofit
usually
that wants to
booked.
be a partner. It will take single women, only single women, and put them into care and transition and start teaching life skills so they can go out on their own and get them into stable living. Now, here's what we do as the police department. We pay the first month. We pay the first month up front. The chief authorizes to pay the first month up free to get them into transitional housing for any woman who is living on the street. At that point, Grandmother's House of Hope starts the process of filing all the paperwork for general relief, disability, anything, Social Security, anything you can qualify, they help you file the paperwork so you can start paying your way. The $500 he's referring to is room and board. So a place to live and all your meals provided, plus wraparound care, you'll hear, for mental health, life skills, job skills to get you going. That's a nonprofit. If it doesn't work for her, there are other nonprofits. But we try to, when we run into single women living on the street, it's an option for us. It might not work for Patsy, but it's worked for 18 women so far this year. That's the number we've ran into, 18 women on the streets that we refer them to. It might not work for her, but there's other nonprofits. But once again, we just direct the homeless to use the nonprofit, and they're willing to help.
I'm sorry, you just clarify that I guess the statement was made we removed property.
Sure, okay.
Ask them why they don't
So,
take
right,
property.
so there's
from
property
people
that is
have
left in the
homes.
park unattended, or it's somebody's gardening it as a camp. We hold the property. We come and we take the property and hold it for 90 days.
Lawful seizure.
Here at the police, not at the police department, an off-site location. It's a storage facility. They can come and get the property. There's no charges. There's nothing. We just hold it.
Are they notified?
Excuse-
Do you notice?
Yes.
Yes.
So they can call. There's the numbers, the signs posted. There are signs posted at every park we're talking about. We have 5 signs at Maxwell, 6 at La Palma, and 8 signs posted at La Palma,
Okay,
at
here.
Tuileries Park, where they can call the police department, make an appointment, and come get your property. We hold it for 90 days.
Okay, I got a question.
Their constitutional rights, and this is how they can remedy that.
That is a city ordinance. It's
That's unlawful.
telling them where
I
to get the money.
got
can't
one
argue about the
question.
legality. That is through the
It's
city attorney's
ordinance
office.
that's in contradiction with the Supreme Court.
Exactly.
So I wouldn't, even if I did do cocaine or heroin or something, I wouldn't run around with a shirt screaming, hey, I'm high on drugs. I mean, if I knew that the Constitution and the Supreme Court has handed down a law that says you can't seize people's property, why are you putting signs in the park?
We're giving you notification required the ordinance. So it's in effect. I'm just saying, why we have a sign. We tell you, you cannot store your personal property
Okay.
in the park.
Can
You
you
cannot
de-
store. We are holding
Can
your
you-
property and you
Excuse-
can come pick it up.
Could you define storage?
Hold on. So let's just be clear about this question, because it is an important one for us to think about as a community group, which is the police is implementing and putting up signs about municipal ordinances passed by a city council. They don't make the ordinances, they're tasked to
Right.
implement it, and then the city posts the ordinances. So if we do have a deep concern about the constitutionality, we should talk about challenging that rather than asking the police, you shouldn't be doing your job.
Well, why
Hold
does-
on, for the city council.
Yeah.
That said, the ordinance does lay out, so the book is there, about specifically what happens to property. So I think that what's important what should be important for us right now is just to communicate to the police department that we feel it's unconstitutional, for them to take it back to city council, to let them know that the community feel this is illegal.
And Jose, it's,
unconstitutional.
it's also selectively enforced. They won't
Okay, so
take
that's
people
the
that have
question, Joshua.
houses.
So can you answer that?
Yeah.
Then we'll move on to other
Okay.
people. Just
There's people with homes that have big parties on the weekends. They have generators. They got big stereo systems and all that. You guys don't come and take their property and seize their property.